What's up, everybody? Today I'm doing a review of Goosebumps Most Wanted, The 12 Screams of Christmas. This is the last Most Wanted book that I had yet to read, and this will be the last one I'll do a review for, at least for some time. But I will say right off the bat that this one I didn't mind too much. Unlike the last couple of Most Wanted books that I read, this one is not a complete reskin of previous Goosebumps books. This one does some things a little bit differently and feels somewhat fresh. So let's get into the plot of this one. This one opens up with the prologue, which is kind of unique for a Goosebumps book. That's something that R.L. Stine doesn't do a whole lot in these. He tends to do it more in his Fear Street novels, but it's just not a device that he employs very often in his book. So it's kind of interesting to see that this one has a prologue in it, and it also takes place like in 1882 or something, I think it is. So it takes place, the prologue, a long time ago, and it opens up with this family moving into this new house, and there's these twin boys, and then they have a younger sister, and they're outside playing and stuff, and the sister, the young daughter of the family or whatever, she finds this old well and is looking down into it, and she falls into the well and is trapped down there, and the prologue ends with her family trying to rescue her and get her out of this well, and it's left kind of open-ended. It doesn't really reveal what happens, but it's implied that she ends up staying down in this well, that she dies down there. That's what it's implied anyway. And then the prologue ends, and we go to the present time, and we follow the main character and her best friend. I'm already forgetting their names. Goosebumps characters, I always forget their names because just reading so many of these, it's hard to remember all their names, and the characters are never very in depth or really stand out a whole lot. So yeah, but anyway, the two main characters are kind of competing for the lead role in this school play that's going on. It's like this Christmas themed school play, and that's what a lot of the drama centers around in this book, or the conflict. At least the first half of this book is just these two friends kind of competing for the school play, and it kind of has elements of Phantom of the Auditorium in it. That's what it reminds me of anyway. And there's also this other little thing going on with the main character where she can see ghosts slash dead people. It's revealed fairly early on in the story that this happens, so it's not really a spoiler. And this is kind of interesting because this is also something that Stine hasn't really done a lot before in the Goosebumps series, or done much at all that I can think of off the top of my head. So it's kind of an interesting thing to see him do something a little bit different here, and I appreciate that about this book. That right off the bat, this does not feel like a previous Goosebumps book that I've read. It feels different. It feels fresh and a little bit new. So again, I kind of like that. I was interested in the beginning of this book. So it's established very early on that she can see ghosts, and she has some encounter with ghosts and whatnot. Unfortunately, some of the scares with this book and thrilling moments come from her seeing these ghosts. And even though she's aware that they can't really do anything to her and she's just able to see dead people, it tries to create tension with that fact, and it doesn't really work. And also, the main character is kind of dumb. She's very well aware that she's the only one that can see ghosts, and she even talks about in the beginning of the book how she first saw a dead person in the past, a couple years ago at like a summer camp or something, I don't remember, and how everyone was making fun of her for it. But yet, every time she sees a ghost or has an encounter with one in school or whatever the case may be, somewhere out in public, she always points it out and like makes a big deal out of it, makes a public display of herself. And then, of course, everyone laughs at her, and then she gets all embarrassed and everything. And it's just like, why do you keep doing this to yourself? It makes no sense. You're the only one that can see ghosts, and you're trying to convince everyone that they're real. Like, why? Everyone thinks you're crazy now, and yet she continues to do this, and it's very annoying. So yeah, a lot of the first half of the book just centers around this ability she has to see ghosts. We don't really get any backstory as to why she has this ability. And then this school play that's going on where her and her friend are fighting for the lead role in it, so there's a little bit of conflict there. But nothing really concrete is happening in the first half of the book. This book is split up into two parts, by the way. At the 80-page mark is where part 2 is. I forgot to mention, this is actually a special edition, which basically just means that this is a little bit longer than the average Goosebumps book, where they're typically about 130 pages. This one is like 170. And there's a few of these special edition Goosebumps books out there, but again, all that makes them special is just they're a little bit longer. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. Where was I? I'm sorry, guys. I just completely lost my train of thought. So yeah, a lot of the first half of the book just kind of centers around the school play that's going on. It's called The 12 Screams of Christmas, by the way. And then her ability to see dead people. But there's really no clear direction or purpose for the story yet. There doesn't really seem to be... The character doesn't have to seem to have like any purpose or meaning. It's just, I don't know. The story just feels very meandering in the first half is what I'm trying to say. But then we get into the second half. And in the second half of the book, their teacher that's directing this school play, and I guess he's their music teacher or whatever, he takes them to this old house where supposedly this tragedy happened a long time ago, and everyone says it's a haunted house now, and he takes them there to stay there for a couple days to practice and rehearse their play, and to get everyone in the Christmas spirit, which kind of happens to be like Halloween spirit a little bit too, because it's a haunted house. So it's basically a ghost Christmas story. I don't know. But anyway, so at this house, they're practicing and rehearsing their play. The main character continues to have these encounters with the dead people. She encounters the kids, the twin boys, that did actually live at that house a long time ago. And from there, I won't get into the plot too much more and spoil anything, but from there, things start to get a little bit more intense as she realizes that these ghosts can do stuff to her. After all, they're not just, invisible, see-through dead people, that these ghosts actually do try to, attack her, I guess, and do stuff to her. So, yeah, there's a little bit of crazy stuff that happens in the second half of the book. But overall, this wasn't one that had me engaged all that much, even though, again, I do appreciate that this book feels a little bit more fresh than the other Most Wanted books that I've read. It tries to do something different, which I really appreciate. It doesn't just feel like a rehash. It did feel really meandering, though. It didn't, I don't know. With it being longer, I think that kind of hurt it a little bit more. The added length did nothing for this story at all. One of the other special edition Goosebumps books that I read not too long ago was a Hall of Horrors book, The Five Masks of Dr. Scream. That one was similar to this one. It was a little bit longer, like 170 pages or something. And that one I feel like benefited from the extra length and almost could have been a little bit longer to elaborate on some more stuff. It almost felt kind of rushed in some places. This one, the length just feel like, if anything, it kind of hurt the story, because it just was dragging on. Not a lot was happening, especially throughout the first half of the book, and even the second half a little bit, even though the second half is more where the action started to pick up and take place. But I don't know. Overall, this wasn't a bad book. I liked it better than the previous Most Wanted book I reviewed, which I believe was Night of the Puppet People. That one was not good. And again, I like that Arlstein tried to do something a little bit differently here. And this book had some things going for it. I was interested in the beginning with her ability to see dead people. The school play kind of had some drama going on with it, very reminiscent of like Phantom of the Auditorium type stuff. That book was from the original Goosebumps series. But I feel like this one just kind of failed to deliver, and it just was not executed the best. So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this book. It was just okay. Definitely not my favorite Most Wanted book. Not quite my least favorite either, though. It was just okay. If I had to rate this one, I'd probably give it like a 2 out of 5 stars. But don't get me wrong, I don't hate this book or anything. There's very few Goosebumps books that I do actually hate. For the most part, even the bad Goosebumps books, like I said before in some of my other videos, I don't exactly regret reading them or anything like that. I still have fun with about any Goosebumps book. This one just didn't really hold my attention all the way through, and was just a little bit disappointing. So, but it's not a bad book either. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. That's my review for 12 Screams of Christmas. Let me know what you guys thought of this one down in the comments. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of the Most Wanted series. I'm not the biggest fan of the newer Goosebumps books in general. The originals will always be the best, but the Most Wanted series in particular has been kind of a letdown for me. There's been a couple of exceptions. I believe my favorite Most Wanted books would be Wanted: The Haunted Mask, which is the first one, and then Here Comes the Shaggedy, which I don't remember what number that book is in the series, but that one I enjoyed. That one felt to me more like an original Goosebumps book, and that one was actually written in third person like some of the very first ones were, whereas most Goosebumps books, including this one, are written in first person. But yeah, I would recommend checking out those two from the Most Wanted series if you want to read any of them. And then some of them are just really, really bad, like Planet of the Lawn Gnomes and Night of the Puppet People. But yeah, for the most part, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of the Most Wanted series. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not anywhere near the best of what Goosebumps has to offer. So that's my thoughts on the series so far, even though I haven't read all the books. And that's my review for this one. So if you guys want to add anything, what your thoughts are on the series, feel free to do so down in the comments. But that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching.